Tell you, Nancy, people could not believe what they were seeing. It was pure, unadulterated shock in there. 34-year-old Evander Holyfield tore away Father Time and ripped through the seemingly impregnable Mike Tyson, scoring an astonishing 11th round TKO, wresting Tyson's title away from him. Tyson had savaged the oppositions going into this fight. 4 fights, he blew through people and took them only 8 rounds. But Holyfield was an entirely different story. High voltage fury from the opening bell. Holyfield was the superior fighter. Inside, he took Tyson's best, and he returned the favor. He outworked Tyson inside, as we just said. He showed poise under fire. He shook up Tyson all night. In the 6th round, Holyfield dropped Tyson with a left-hand counter. In the 10th round, he had Tyson all but out on his feet as the bell sounded. And then in the 11th round, Holyfield closed with a flourish and finished the job as Tyson melted under the onslaught. And Evander Holyfield once again had defied odds, time, and all the rest. Nobody gave him a shot except himself. Now he joins Muhammad Ali as the only person to ever regain or win the heavyweight title 3 times. As for what's ahead, Evander Holyfield can pick and choose. It may be to redemption against one guy who beat him, Michael Moore, who earlier tonight took on Francois Botha. Moore came into the ring here, the IBF heavyweight champion, Botha the South African challenger. But Moore showed very little ability to put Botha away. Botha was wide open much of the night, but Moore just didn't show any knockout power. Botha certainly didn't have it, but he was as game as they come and made this fight a lot closer than it should have been. Finally, Botha was a spent fighter in the 9th. And Michael Moore, with his corner pleading and screaming and threatening to stop it, mustered up enough to squeak out a victory, finally with a TKO late stoppage in the 12th round. So Evander Holyfield now, the story of the night here in Las Vegas. He's the WBA heavyweight champion. He will call all the shots. And again, this was a man who was supposed to be counted out by all the experts, including myself at ringside. Holyfield was a gladiator, an aging warrior who looked like a spent bullet. But tonight, he made Tyson look like an empty cartridge. That's the story right now from Las Vegas. We'll have updates throughout the night. Now back to you in Atlanta.
I'm Wayne Walker, Headline Sports. He said he would do it, and he did. Evander Holyfield shocks the world, knocking out Mike Tyson at 37 seconds of the 11th round. Evander, the real deal. Holyfield is the new WBA champion of the world.
You know, it's hard for me to really say how difficult it was because I was led by the Holy Spirit. You know, it was a different fight for me because it's the first time I just, you know, just kind of prayed. I prayed in the corner, and I had all my corner people praying, you know, and I just thank God for all the trainers and my promotion group, main events, you know, who stuck behind me. That, you know, I've been a prayer all my life, and they stuck behind me.
You took his best, and you returned the favor. Was that the key, the counterpunching?
Well, you know, when you're led by the Holy Spirit, regardless of what happened, you'll be able to do it just a little bit more.
What did you prove to yourself, and what did you prove to your critics? Somebody just said, this man's the bionic man. I can't believe it. I mean, nobody gave you a shot, Evander.
Well, you know, but, you know, the whole thing is that it don't bother me because they don't give me a shot. When you start ruling out Jesus, you know, that's Jesus still, man, it's still the same one that when David slayed Goliath, he's same being the same God is still here. You know, when I say I believe, and when the Lord said it was mine, I knew it was mine. I guaranteed that I would win, and people kind of laughed at me.
What would you tell Mike Tyson now?
Well, you know, it's not so much me telling Mike Tyson because it's not about putting people down. It's about edifying. You know. My God is for anybody who want to believe, and it's not just my God, whoever wants to believe.
Will you give him a rematch, or is Moore next? He beat you. I mean, what's next for you, Evander?
Well, what's next is for me to go rest and, you know, continue to go out in the world and tell people that Jesus still lives, and he, you know, this is not just for fighting. This is for everyday life. The people who have challenges they need to overcome, they need to learn to pray and give credit to the Lord.
You will fight again.
Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, Evander Holyfield, the new heavyweight champion of the world. Let's go back to Atlanta.
Thanks, Nick. Evander looks pretty good considering the war. Paul? that all you had to do was show off. We haven't heard you say anything like that in terms of confidence since Bo fight number 2.
Well, you know, like I said, you know, I led by the Holy Spirit, and the fight was won before I got there, and I knew the fight was won. The only thing is that I had to gird myself with the strength to train, to work hard, and to go in there to get it. The most important thing is that, you know, when you believe in the Lord, it's not by just resting, but you have to work, and you have to show your faith by working towards them. And, you know, this is something that was ordained from the beginning of time. And this is not just for boxing, this is for the whole world to see that you trapped with circumstances. You have to face challenges in life, but you need something stronger than yourself. And so you have to pray.
Evander, take me to the 6th round when you opened up the cut over Tyson's left eye and you hit the big left hook and knocked him down.
Well, you know, it's hard to take it back because the whole thing that what happened, and it's hard for me to say, I did this, I did that. You know, the whole
That's
thing
the question everybody wants to know.
Fast action, passion, and I was kind of like praying all the way through the fight. And I got through the fight, and the victory belongs to the Lord.
Evander, will you give Mike Tyson a rematch?
You know, right now I just want to rest, and I just want to continue to thank the Lord, and whatever the Lord lead me to, that's what I would do.
Do you intend to give him a rematch?
Well, you know, whatever the Lord lead me to.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Evander Holyfield, the new champ. Now let's go back upstairs to Charlie Steiner.
Well, thank you, Mark. A staggering upset tonight. Evander Holyfield defeating Mike Tyson at 2 minutes and 23 seconds. In the meantime, Al, what now for Mike Tyson? You know, it took him seemingly a very long time to get over the Buster Douglas loss.
Well, as we look at him, I'm a little bit surprised in a certain way that he's actually here for the press conference, willing to come and talk to the media. It's not his specialty. He hasn't had good relations with the media. Things are going to get testy down there, I assure you. But Mike Tyson at least taking his medicine like a man in that sense. It may take Mike Tyson a while to get back into the picture because they're not going to be anxious, even though Holyfield is promoted now by Don King for the next couple of fights. He's got the promotional rights. He may not get a shot right away.
Look at the swelling on Mike Tyson's face, on both sides of his face, John.
Well, we certainly haven't seen that since the Buster Douglas fiasco for Tyson in 1990. Holyfield fought a technically sound fight, as Al mentioned much earlier in the telecast.
You know, we were talking through the night, perhaps you think of the second Riddick-Bowe fight, that was the Fan Man fight, where that was probably his best performance of his career, at least as a heavyweight. But tonight, he was even better than that.
He was a student of tapes. He watched everyone that had fought smaller men well. He watched what people had done against Tyson, and he found out one of the ways you can fight Tyson if you can take his punch. You jab him as he comes in, you hold him when he's inside, you push him off, and you land counter right hands. That's the best thing you can do against Mike Tyson. He was able to do it effectively, Holyfield, and Mike Tyson, who is not the technically proficient Tyson of years past, wasn't able to deal with it.
That is John Horn, who is sitting immediately to Mike Tyson's left. That is his manager. He is his primary spokesman these days. And as you take a look at Tyson, there is still a look of utter confusion and disbelief on his face.
He's shocked at what happened here.
One of the first things he said in a post-ring interview was, I don't really know what happened. That kind of tells you that Tyson was not prepared to lose. Of course, all fighters prepare to win, but that starts with a good corner, and there have been question marks all along. Does Mike Tyson have the necessary trainers in his corner in case he gets in trouble in a fight? We know what Mike Tyson can do against Bruce Seldon of the world. We know what he can do against Frank Bruno. But when he's in a real fight, and Tyson has to get advice in his corner. I mean, there was some panic in that corner tonight.
That is Evander Holyfield making his way to the podium, along with his promoter, Dino Duva. Now understand, and Don King said nearly immediately after the fight, Holyfield was valiant and gallant. Don't write off Mike Tyson yet. We're going to dance again. Fortunately, I do have promotional rights to Evander. It's the American way.
How about the smile that Tyson flashed Evander Holyfield? As Holyfield walked by, Holyfield didn't shake his hand. He said something. Tyson flashed a smile. Holyfield walked away.
You know, I got to tell you, this is probably the last position on earth Mike Tyson figured to be after a fight like this tonight. So let us go to the podium and the promoter. You know him, Don King.
I think the world saw a great card tonight. I think that every one of these fighters deserves a rousing round of applause. It was a great card from the beginning to the end. Let's hear it from them. From the littlest to the biggest. Let me get the recognition to the little guys that went out there and fought tonight and did a great job. One of them, as you know, had his 17th title defense. He's a remarkable young man from Mexico, tremendous gladiator, great champion, Ricardo Lopez. Ricardo Lopez. WBC strawweight champion of the world. As you've seen him perform against Ndumo from South Africa, this young man was tremendous. He has a great future, and he will continue to fight and looking for the bigger and the better fights. But this is one card I'm simply very proud of. Regardless of the outcome, you walk that walk, you talk that talk, you got to be able to deal with it either way it goes. The card was superb. I'm very proud of all the fighters that fought for me tonight. They all gave the all. It was a tremendous effort, and I think the fans will appreciate that. And that's what makes boxing so great, is the unpredictableness of this great sport. Okay? Secondly, the whole card is here. We got all the guys that helped to make it possible. And I want to be a young man that Lopez, who has just had his 17th title defense. And I think that Ricardo, you want to have something to say because you have done a great job. And I want the world to know what a great little fighter that you are. So, Ricardo Lopez, Gladys Rosa will translate for him.
Agradezco mucho a Don King.
He is very grateful to Don King
por haber intervenido en esta noche tan sorpresiva.
For being the promoter in such an incredible bout.
I must tell you, I'm a little bit dumbfounded by this press conference, and here's why. We have a new heavyweight champion of the world, and Don King, the promoter, is congratulating the undercard. What does that tell you about... He is Mike Tyson's promoter.
Well,
let us not forget that.
He's being a spin doctor, and he's being an excellent spin doctor. He's doing everything on this planet to take the attention and the onus away from the fact that Mike Tyson lost this fight. He wants us to think of everything at this moment beyond that, even though he's Tyson's promoter, and the fact that he thinks he could rake a rematch. Right at this moment, the wheels are spinning, and he's being a spin doctor, trying to get us to concentrate on anything else.
And we are doing our job to de-spin. Because the fact of the matter is, the story tonight is Evander Holyfield is the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, and good luck and Godspeed to Ricardo Lopez and Christy Martin and Henry Akinwande and Michael Moore, all of whom won tonight. But the fact of the matter is, the story and the lead story is that man, Evander Holyfield.
That's precisely why Don King wants to bury the lead story, even though he's going to have to deal with Evander Holyfield eventually if there's going to be a rematch. And this is the kind of thing, though, that could get under Holyfield's skin. I don't think it would, but let's face it, the two fighters everybody wants to talk to are up there at the dais. That is the story. But Don King wants to create diversionary tactics.
We can't let that happen. We're doing our job, and the job is this man, Evander Holyfield. I'll tell you who may be a big loser in all of this tonight is Michael Moore. Michael Moore was all set to fight Mike Tyson next in March for $10 million. Biggest payday of his career. Maybe as much in one fight as he has made in his entire career. That fight is clearly off. And where does that leave Michael Moore, who won a very convincing fight over Francois Botha? But what about poor Evander?
Well, here's the irony of this. Michael Moore already beat Evander Holyfield once before. Surprised the world. And I'll tell you something else. Evander Holyfield didn't figure out how to fight a left-hander by the 15th round or 12th round against Moore. He may never figure out. So for Moore, if he could get to Holyfield, it would be interesting, but he'll never get $10 million, and he probably won't.
If you're just joining us, let us run through some of the still photos of tonight's staggering upset. We begin in round one when Mike Tyson came out flailing, as we expected he would.
In round one, the very first punch of the fight, Mike Tyson landed an overhand right against Holyfield. He stumbled, but Holyfield apparently was not hurt by it, and he ended up having a pretty good round one against Mike Tyson.
Anytime you get through the first round with Mike Tyson and you're on your feet, that's a good round. And I think Holyfield set the tempo as the second round came around, of course. That constant grabbing and holding when Tyson would make those bull rushes. He was telling Mike Tyson, you're not going anywhere. Here we go, round 5 action. Tyson again throwing those overhand rights, but he was walking to Holyfield. Instead of jabbing his way in and using the rocking side-to-side motion that he's done in the past, Tyson was making himself a target.
And the 5th round was where we thought perhaps there was a sign of fatigue on the part of Evander Holyfield, but the low blows seemed to almost wake him up.
Well, I tell you what, Holyfield got hit with 2 terrific body shots in the 4th and 5th round, and that did slow him up for a time, Charlie.
And then in the 6th round, Al, the first knockout or knockdown of Mike Tyson since Buster Douglas' second of his career.
It came courtesy of a left hook that landed more on the chest of Tyson, but he had been hurt with the left hook just prior to this, and he was knocked off balance, knocked down, and if anything else, it gave Holyfield a lot of confidence.
And from that point on, at least on our card, Evander Holyfield won every single round.
And finally, in the 10th round is when Holyfield took complete control of this bout. It started with a nice right hand, a counter right hand. Then he landed one right hand in that round that swiveled Mike Tyson's head. And astonishingly, John, he stayed on his feet.
I tell you, it tells you something about the courage and guts of Mike Tyson. And he has a terrific chin. Tyson really should have gone down at that point. A lot of fighters would have been out of it. Tyson holding himself up with sheer willpower. I don't think he knew where he was at that time.
And then in the 11th round, after Mike Tyson nearly went down at the end of the 10th, Evander Holyfield bored in, and the great irony in all of this, there was a question whether or not Mitch Halpern might be overprotective on behalf of Evander Holyfield. But no, he stopped the fight. Holyfield the winner, and Mike Tyson has been dethroned. And as we take a look at the official score for tonight, the result, the Las Vegas judges oftentimes get a bum rap, and more times than not, rightfully so. But tonight, the 3 judges had it pretty much right on. Dalby Shirley, 96-92 for Holyfield at the time the fight was stopped. Federico Vollmer had it 100-93, and Jerry Roth had it 96-92. So even if the fight had continued, Mike Tyson would have needed a knockout to win the fight. And so Evander Holyfield is now a 3-time heavyweight champion, joining just one other great champion. Muhammad Ali is the only 3-time champion. And now we have to begin to think about this man's place in history.
Well, certainly I think it kind of certified Evander Holyfield's greatness. A lot of people doubted where Evander belonged in that hierarchy of heavyweights. And certainly he was a great light heavyweight, blew everybody out of the division. But once he moved up to heavyweight, he struggled. All his fights were entertaining, and they were wars. And I think tonight, certainly Evander Holyfield showed he belongs up there with Muhammad Ali. He belongs up there with Mike Tyson. He belongs up there with Rocky Marciano and all the great heavyweights.
This was the so-called blown-up cruiserweight with the bad heart, with the bad everything, no knockout power, no chin, and tonight it was just a magnificent performance.
Well, what he showed us tonight is that when Evander Holyfield, A, is in his best condition, and D, when he fights an intelligent fight, he can beat almost anybody around and truly is an offensive machine in there. And he fought a very intelligent fight tonight and a very courageous one as well.
And again, as we mentioned a little bit ago, as we take a look at a close-up shot at Evander Holyfield's face, how unmarked it is. It is some slight swelling, but that's to be expected, but certainly no discoloration. On the other hand, take a look at Mike Tyson, who's, you see the welts on the left side of his head, and he's cut on the right side as well. He took a beating tonight.
Courtesy of clashes of heads that they had, including a cut.
Another thing, Charlie, is that during training, Mike Tyson, we kept hearing stories since he's been out of prison about how he was beating up sparring partners. Well, really, your job is, if you're preparing for a heavyweight fight, isn't to beat up your sparring partners. Your job is to get ready for a professional fight. When you have headgear on and big gloves, it does give you that sense of false security. And Mike Tyson was in a real fight tonight, and he found out there was no headgear, there was nobody to save him in a sparring session. It was a totally different thing against Evander Holyfield.
You know, you raised the question before about his corner. There was such controversy that he didn't have a competent corner in the Buster Douglas fight. Aaron Snow was his trainer. He was promptly fired. Now Jay Bright. There have been questions about Jay Bright's competence in the corner all along throughout his comeback, but they never figured they needed a corner the way they were blowing through the opposition. That question is going to come up all over again.
Well, and it comes up not just for their performance in between rounds, because that's really the least of it. It comes up in their preparation for this fight, which John pointed out. Mike Tyson isn't doing the things he was taught by Customato, and Kevin Rooney continued on with him. He's not doing the things that made this small heavyweight with some power into a real fighting dynamo.
Now here it is. We have been on the air now about 10 to 15 minutes since this press conference began, and we still haven't heard word one about the new heavyweight champion of the world. Hopefully we will as we go down to the podium now, and let's see what Don King has to say.
All right, and we deal with it as it is. But before I get to that, I want to say something about a young, beautiful lady that I told you about before. And this lady was sensational as usual. She did her job, and everybody saw her in grand style. I was very proud of her. I'm very proud of her performance. Let me have the young lady, the dynamite, curvaceous, voluptuous, sensuous, intoxicatingly beautiful, a lady of the fisticuffs, Christy Martin.
Thank you, DK. I'd just like to thank God for bringing us all through the night safely. And, of course, thank Don King for giving me the opportunity to fight on such a wonderful card. It was just a great opportunity to be there. I was glad to open the show. Hopefully we'll do this again soon, January 11th in Nashville. So keep an eye out for Christy Martin. I'm going to keep banging him out.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. And before I get into the two fighters, we have some people on the desk that I'd like to introduce to you. One of them is Mrs. Holyfield, is Holyfield's wife. And she's very beautiful, sitting next to her husband in this moment of excellence. And her mother is sitting behind her. And we want to give them a round of hands. And that's Papa Holyfield in the back there. You know, Papa Holyfield, how you doing? Yeah. All the Holys are here. And I might say you should take a note of significance here. Out of pain comes gain. And so what do you have here? You got a guy that's been training these guys. He brought two champions in tonight, and that's Donald Turner here. Donald, stand up so they can see who you are, brother. You know what I mean? He brought the Fighting Zulu through, and the Fighting Zulu sent Zokin back to Boris Yeltsin, you know, and he did it in grand style, and then he brought Holyfield through against Mike Tyson, which no one would have believed could happen. So Donald Turner now has to be recognized as one of the great trainers of the day and the era because his performance speaks for itself. Just don't forget it. You know what I mean? That's Donald Turner, the trainer of both Henry Akinwani, the Zulu warrior, and Evander Holyfield. And I think he do his due. Donald Turner. Okay, as you know, in boxing, it's unpredictable and things happen, and things that happen they did tonight. All right, on this side of the table, Team Tyson went into the ring, and we have talked the talk, and we have walked the walk, and we take the bitter with the sweet, and we do it with a smile and say, when is the next one? And so every now and then in life, you have a setback. Setback every now and then, failure never. You regroup, reconnoiter the area, deploy your forces, and attack again. And this is what we're getting ready to do. So I want to bring up the same guys that were saying what they had to say before I bring up one of the greatest fighters in the history of mankind. Let me bring up Rory Holloway first. Co-manager of Mike Tyson, part of Team Tyson.
Good evening. Tonight was definitely a historic occasion. We're very happy to be here. We're very happy to be here, and we thought he fought a courageous fight. He fought a hell of a fight. Holyfield was the better man tonight, and I take my hat off to him. This is just a minor step in the life and times of Mike Tyson. This is not even the most top 10 most tragic things on this list. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things more important than this fight. But thank God that he's healthy. He's with us. He's standing on 2 feet. With the blessings of Allah, we'll be back. We at Team Tyson, we talk the talk, and we definitely walk the walk. Like I said, the blessing of Allah, we'll definitely be back. and hopefully we have a chance at Holyfield again and whoever else out there again. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Rory. You know, the school I come from, the damn don't cry, they just keep on pushing. You know what I mean? So hold your head up high and step tall, baby, because that's the way it goes. So now we'll bring up the other side of that, but you got to pay tribute to the man, and the man can actually respect the tribute being paid from him from this side because he recognized how it was before he got to this. And so when you have the ones that have the guts to criticize, they got to also have the guts to stand up and say, hey, you're the best tonight. John Horn.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, the world seen what we know the other side of this business truly is. And that's why, for so many years, Mike has always trained. He's always prepared himself never to get in a position where a man can take advantage of him before he takes advantage of a man. This is no baseball game, football game, basketball game, or nothing like that. Fighting is the ultimate game in the world. And very seldom have you ever seen Mike Tyson on the other side of the table. But this is nothing he hasn't handled before. He's not mentally prepared to handle. This is what makes the world go round from this perspective. Mike Tyson fought his heart out tonight. He gave everything he had in that ring, which is something we know he does every time. But until the world watches him on the other side of the table, they're not satisfied. But you know what, though? We can handle that, too. Because we understand what y'all really expect out of Mike Tyson. Nothing but fighting. Y'all don't care about Mike Tyson. We understand that. We ain't looking for no pity. We just looking for where's the next contract, the next fight, and the next check. That's what we looking for. So as we come here all the time, and we stand here, this is a job to us. This is Mike Tyson's career. It happens to be a very dangerous career. So all the time you see him walking away and it look like it's easy, along the line, him and everybody else pay for what they actually get. Okay? So all the times it was looking like it was easy, tonight you seen the other side of it. And we'll prepare again. We'll make sure this doesn't happen again. At the same time, I give Mr. Holyfield every bit of credit in the world for winning this fight. He won the fight. No excuses from nobody here whatsoever. And we'll be back again when it happens. And everything we say and everything we did before, that's how we say and feel right now. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you again.
Thank you, John. You know, it's a funny thing I learned a long time ago in coming to the sport business. You know what I mean? You can't drown in your own tears, and then when you write your own press releases, you can't believe them. You know what I mean? So when you see things that are happening, and they be writing and you begin to read, don't believe it, you know what I mean? Just go out there and be prepared for it. So ever ready, you got to be pragmatic and realistic. And when doing so, you can stand up and you can face the world and deal with whatever they have to give you and keep on pushing. I'm very proud of my man, Mike Tyson, tonight. I fought a gallant fight, and his understanding that he has to continue in the struggle. But I mean, it makes, as far as the sport of boxing, I mean, it would be reams of paper written tomorrow about a dynamite guy named Evander Holyfield. But now it puts an equation, what they call an equalizer, into the sport. When they have a rematch, it would be something super sensational. Everybody in the world will be there. They can't say it's going to be over in one round. They can't say he ain't fighting nobody. They can't say that we don't know what to do with him because everybody gets in there weird. He's done them in before they get in there. So all of the unanswered questions have been answered, and now we are starting the stage for the next slate of what we're about to do. And the man who stands tall in the saddle to be able to accept defeat and keep on stepping to go back for victory is the man of the hour, the man who you had yesterday that would say that would have vanquished this man in the twinkling of an eye. Today he's growing in maturity and strength, focus and discipline to understand that it is another side of the coin, but I can take that one too. And that's when the real man stands up and stand tall and say, let's get with it. Mike Tyson, former heavyweight champion of the world.
Thank you. I bear witness there's one God, and I bear witness the Prophet Muhammad, the Prophet of God. I just want to shake your hand, man. It's been so long. I just want to touch you.
Right on. That's what I want to see. Congratulations. Yeah, we expose you.
I went in there, I fought and gave my best. I was tired and just kept fighting, and I got caught in some exchanges, and he fought a hell of a fight, and I just commend you. Thank you very much. I have the greatest respect for you. And by the will of God, hopefully we can do it again. Thank you.
All right. Right on. I'm going to just say it. Stand up in this one, brother.
Now, as you know, Mike was in the war tonight. We was not, no way whatsoever was we not going to show up at this press conference. Mike he's here. He's going to answer a couple of questions, and then we're going to go home and rest. So we're not going to be here all night, but by no way whatsoever was we not going to show up here. So please, thank you.